To welcome everyone here today with us and watching. This is our 18th weekly meeting, and I guess has been the process here. We'll let the contractor, give us an update, and then following that, I can give a general update and a little bit more specific of a preview for what we can expect here with this upcoming week. So, with that, I'll turn it over to Ryan. If you would just give us a quick schedule update.
Sure. Thanks, Corey. Well, this week we were able to get all the piping finished. Now our crews have just a little bit of road prep left. Finish that out most likely today, maybe a little bit tomorrow, depending on what this weather does. And then we'll just have sidewalk prep and curb and gutter prep. Our subcontractors, of course, Doyle, our concrete guy, he's planning on coming in and trimming out this week for the main drive lanes, and then we're talking about pouring starting on Monday. The main drive lanes all the way from really all the way through Old West Main, all the way down through Broad, leaving out a couple of crossings, one at Franklin and one at the Samson Beds driveway. Jump on those as soon as the first pour cures out, and get on the intersection backs as soon as they are free from the main line, and then follow up with the center turn lane, and then the curb and gutter, sidewalks, driveways, ramps as they come available. Of course, we got Monarch on here for paving out the mill and overlay to tie into the work that the DOT's been doing out there, and then Egan, our electrician, coming up with the lighting system and the traffic controls, the permanent signals, which I'm thinking that they'll probably be done within the next 3 weeks or so. Get it striped out, and then we'll be out of everybody's hair for a little while. We got Mason. We still got some work after these 3 weeks with the, off on the auxiliary sides, the Mason, the ornamental fence, and the landscape, just to pretty it all up. But we'll be out of the way and let traffic go free pretty quick.
All right, thanks, Ryan. So just to reiterate a few points here. So the utility work are done. We're working on prepping. The tent here the past few weeks we've been talking about starting paving this week, as we can see with the weather yesterday and actively today. That's going to cause some delays there with the concrete paving. So we're expecting to start the preparations for the concrete paving here before the weekend. It's always a little bit undesirable when you start preparing for paving but don't have the paving happen until the week following. So there's likely going to be some traffic impacts. It'd be the closure of all the north side intersections except for Franklin is probably what we're going to be looking at. That includes closure of Old West Main, closure of Hill, and then Broad Street is closed right now. We are going to look at Old West Main just a little bit. I'm not going to make any promises, but there's a potential there that we could keep that right in, right out through the weekend to help alleviate a little bit the access constraints before the paving work. It certainly will be closed on Monday, and it'll likely be closed on Friday to do that work, just a determination of whether we can carry that through the weekend or not. So no promises there, but we're going to certainly look at that. And likewise with the concrete work will be the detouring of the pedestrian crossing again down at the Y. We looked at that last week, and there's just really no safe option to push it slightly east, but still closer to Broad than to Bush. And so we're gonna detour it down to Bush. We're hoping that's going to be no more than a 2-week span, and it's something that we did before, and hopefully everyone can adjust again to. And it's just the safest to let people cross at the signal. There's pedestrian ramps there, and just works well for that. So beyond the last, I guess, traffic update, just to reiterate, would be the in addition to the closure of the intersection on the north side, Franklin will stay open, but it'll also be the elimination of left turn lanes, and we've talked about that now for a couple weeks. But we'll have a detour in place, and we've talked about what the benefits that provides for the project. So I'm sure, as those that have been tracking it a little closer, the end of this week was the set completion date, and right now we're looking at having 61 back open before Labor Day weekend. That's the real driving schedule here that Ryan was referring to. So starting paving next week, about 2 weeks of solid concrete paving. Looking at getting that mill and overlay portion done, and then maybe even the striping before Labor Day weekend. So, and then there will be work carrying over following in well into September, but that's hopeful to be outside the roadway, sodding, tree work, lighting work, a lot of the aesthetic corridor work, which hopefully won't have a major impact to the traveling roadway or to the business access, and so that's our hope here. So.
A lot of that work, Corey, might be done with the right lane closures, though, with the sidewalks.
That's right. Yep, and that's the main point here is that hopeful, once Labor Day weekend happens, that the roadway's open and there's just temporary right lane closures. And what we mean by temporary is the barrels go up in the morning. If it makes sense, maybe they'd carry it over into the following day, but it might just be daily. Barrels are up and then they're down that evening, and the roadway's back open. So that's what we mean by temporary closures. And those would just be the right-hand lanes, so there'd still be the throughs. The center left turn lane would still be available for cars, to go, to the other side of the highway. And so minimal impacts at that time. Still work, still construction presence, but far less than what we've, been having so far. And so, yeah, I think that was the main things I wanted to hit. I don't know if I missed anything here, Jay.
Well, the real change is this week we are hoping to do paving, and that won't happen with the weather that we've had, and are going to have the rest of the week. So concrete paving is not going to occur until next week, but that doesn't mean there won't be some changes like Corey and Ryan were talking about. We do need to get in there to trim, get ready for paving, so that would require the closure of Old West Main, hopefully just for Friday, and then the turn lanes being taken away at Franklin intersection to get ready for the concrete machine to move through there. So, but we will skip over the Salmon Bed driveway for River City Motorsports and Salmon Beds to make sure that they have access. So that won't be closed this week. We'll kind of jump over that with our paving operations and trimming operations. So. With that, and we've, if something does come up where they're not going to get the trimmers in this week, we've talked with Meyer, and they will hold off on taking out those turn lanes. We'll take out the turn lanes at Franklin and closure of Old West Main until we know for sure that Doyle will be here to do the concrete trimming and paving. So we're hoping for the best, but the weather is pushing things off at this stage, and that's probably the big change from what we talked about last week, is no paving is going to occur this week. So.
And then, the best update beyond these weekly meetings, obviously we have a lot of information that's available to us right now, but the best piece of advice to continue to track it is, obviously you'll see the changes, but we'll try to, with the weekly update, we'll try to give an accurate prediction of the tail end of this week into next week, and then the turning movement maps. We've tried to put a lot of effort into getting those updated the day of changes. And so I guess as things continue to evolve here within the next 3 weeks, there'll be a lot of changes, intersections being reopened and once they're paved, and so just we'll try to do the best. But that turning movement map really is the most up-to-date information as far as access stuff goes in 61. But then the weekly update, I'll try to as we solidify here Doyle's schedule and the weather starts to clear, we'll give a more accurate prediction of really when those changes are tended to take place and what you can expect for the weekend, say in early next week.
And as Ryan said, all the underground, all the pipe work is done. As far as the sewer, water, and storm sewer, you will see crews out there putting in light bases. I believe you can stay in town, correct? Putting in light bases for our lighting system. So there's other work going on. Road building. Larry is working on getting the final part of the road built there by the YMCA, and then we really need some weather here to pave, and that's really what we're looking at as our big controlling operation at this point. So, Ron?
Yeah, so if he's going to trim on Friday and then it rains on Saturday, does he have to retrim Monday again? No. Unless it's a gully washer, I suppose. Okay. Because my phone's telling me it's going to rain Saturday.
We noticed that too, and it typically with how hard the base has been setting up, it's really the effort to get the string line up. The trimmer and the paver both use the same string, and they trim to grade, and then the base sits there and it's solid, it's hard. So we get a rain as long as it's nothing extreme. The base should hold up well. It'll be draining out to the edge. And as long as it's really not actively raining or water sitting there, they should be able to pave just fine on Monday, even with some weekend weather.
And they can't trim Thursday and pave Friday?
From best we can tell is the rain is impacting the work that they had scheduled for right now. And that work scheduled for right now is delaying them into later this week, which is going to be our window. So then just naturally it's just a chain effect, and it's pushing us back then as well.
Jerry, you have anything with utilities or the temp water system? We're kind of getting toward the end of that.
Yep, still working on some bacteria tests on a few roads yet. So once that passes, we'll be able to eliminate the rest of the temp main. Hopefully, towards the end of the week, beginning of next week, that should be down.
Completely pull the temp main down.
Hopefully, if everything on the bacteria test passed. Yep.
Okay. I do know, I've been talking about access. Larry, you mentioned you're kind of keeping the median turnaround there by the YMCA, so all that parking can be used on Broad, and you're going to wait to remove that until right before it's time to get in there and do the handwork to pour that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll keep that turnaround in place so people can still park along there and get out. Around the end of that median. Ron, do you want to maybe give an update on the removal of Taco John's?
Yeah, Luger's construction is there right now, tearing it down.
They're there now.
They had the front off it when I came by, so I would imagine most of it will be down by the end of the day. They're working on it in the rain. So.
Okay.
And they worked with Larry to get access this morning. So.
Good. Anything else, Corey?
No, I don't think so.
How about any questions from anyone that we got here? The audience? Anything? All right, I'm going to let Jeff give an update on the overlay project on 61.
My biggest update is this will be my last update. I was on vacation last week, but I was happy to come back and find all the barrels were gone, north and south of town. So you probably have already noticed the paving operations were completed and all the lane closures were able to be removed. So essentially the major operations for our project are now complete. There's a few items remaining to clean up. They don't have too much impact on traffic generally. So the final permanent striping south of town has yet to be done. And there's still quite a bit of seeding restoration work that has to happen throughout the project. The areas that have been left open at this point, so we got to try to get that restoration contractor back in as soon as it gets dry enough for them to work. And I think there is just one little stretch of guardrail south of town that needs to be installed as well. So sometimes those just done with lane closures, maybe a temporary lane or shoulder closures, or maybe a temporary lane closure, but they'll be pretty uninvasive at this point. So essentially our project is very close to final completion, but all their major operations are now done. So things went very quickly. As again, I've been saying that the original completion date was the middle of October, so we're done a couple weeks before Labor Day. So very pleased with the way the contractor really got after it, and probably imposed a little bit more traffic impact on you than the original plan had called for, but I think that the extra weeks of getting it completed were hopefully worth it to the community. Mm-hmm. So I'm very pleased with the way this has gone. So that's about all we have, and that'll be the last update. A few things will take place, and you might feel more like a maintenance operation now at this point than any major construction with what we're doing. So,
and all the signage is in place out there, as we talked this morning. With the median closures, there's different signage out there, but it's all in place. So.
Yep, everything we had for signing in the plan is currently there. So Yeah, we're
Just,
pretty much
just some striping then.
just striping and some seating, and we're out the door. So
Okay. Ron, do you have a question?
Have you had a chance to look at the striping for that turn lane at Penn Street?
we
And
discussed. I discussed it with our maintenance folks. So yeah, we'll get that fixed when they
You
come
will?
back.
Okay,
Yep,
good.
yep. We
Thank
got
you.
pay items easy enough to complete
I
that.
saw
so.
that about 20 minutes after they're done with it because they were still
Yeah,
by
yeah.
Withers when I drove by there.
Unfortunately, nothing was in a plan to cover it, so they basically striped a standard turn lane. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
knowing that there was, discussed it with our maintenance folks, we know there's, I think they said it was 700 feet long. That's how
Yeah.
much we improved that shoulder to have a turn lane there. So we'll
They'll
get that
just
striped.
sandblast that off or something? Okay,
Yeah,
sounds
there's
good, thank
removal.
you.
Yeah, no problem there. So they were planning to be in this Thursday, obviously with the rain. It's probably going to get pushed back till next week now, but there's not a whole lot of work for that crew to do. So and some additional, and Jay was about to probably say there's some impacts to some of the side streets that weren't striped originally. Some of them have been covered up with some of the tack coat, and there's some that were milled up, and some turn lane or crosswalk areas, and some of the
Crosswalks
smaller.
area. So, yeah, Mountain Burnside, if you're wondering if that crosswalks are getting put back in, the state will come back and do those along with the stop bars and the
Yep,
crosswalks. So,
correct, so-
all along that trail, especially on the south side of the road, the trail that runs out there. So those will be part of your final striping operations
Correct.
coming in
Yeah.
weeks here. weeks
Yep. They
ahead.
got to come back anyway. So yeah, we just kind of added some of that in that wasn't necessarily in the plan, but we'll just take care of that. So hopefully a day or two they'll be all done with all that, and then hopefully sometime in the middle of all that, the restoration crew will come through, and then you won't see us anymore.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
we appreciate your cooperation and patience with this whole project. So
Any other questions for Jeff? I think that I've heard good things. It's nice to have that pavement. Now we got good pavement all the way out to 316. So
yeah.
nice to have that done.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And thank you for getting that stretch done down by the bridge. You know, the 63 bridge.
That extra strip.
That
Yep.
little extra strip in there. That wasn't part of the plan, but that is done now. So. All right. Thank you for coming.